Hi everyone. Today I have another Tim Galyean to show you. This is another very cool piece from Tim, and it's called the Stallion. And this is Tim's latest model, which he came out in, I believe, 2021. So this is his brand new model, and this is actually the prototype, or at least prototype of the bomber piece. I've actually seen him make a few stallions, but very few. I only know of one collector who has one. And then there's this second piece, and then there's a third piece which he brought to a show, which I believe was TKI. He brought two pieces, including this one. This was an auction piece at the show, and man, is it a very beautiful knife and excellently executed. So I bring many knives to the channel, and a lot of them are extremely good, but this has to be one of the top ones. There are makers who make knives which they're beautiful, they function really well, but there's also makers who take it to the next level in terms of the fit and finish, in terms of the tolerance, etc. So, and this is one of them. All the basics, are all covered. The action, the ergonomics, the contouring, the precision, the sharpness of the blade, all of it is excellent. So let's go through this particular stallion. It sports a CPM 154 blade, as with many high-end customs. A lot of makers love this steel because it's very clean. It's sharp, it's easy to sharpen, all of that jazz. It's a very balanced steel, and you can put a very nice finish on it. You can see that he engraved his name right here, and he did a lovely hand rub. On the flats, it's a straight rub, along with the same direction as the flat. But if you notice on the swedge and on the bevel itself, the lines of the hand rub curves with the blade, and not everyone does this, and this is extremely beautiful. When you do the hand rub and you curve it along the blade, it is wonderful. This is like the extra mile that he goes when he hand rubs the knives. So notice that this functions as the external stop pin, so it's very sturdy. It's actually a pretty it's a beefier blade stock, but it still slices very nicely. Coming down to the pivot, this is actually a clock pivot, and it's extremely flush. Like, this is something people, when they see pivots, a lot of them can't tell if they are difficult to do or not. This is one of the pretty difficult one to build, because not only is it clocked, you can see the lines of the hand rub coming down, which means it has to be extremely precise, at least like 0.00 or 0.01 inch tolerance. It has to be perfect and exact, and this is perfect and exact. And you can see how close it comes to this edge. And the knife is actually curved. The whole frame is contoured, and this is contoured along with the frame, so it matches perfectly on both sides, which is incredible work from Tim. On this side, there's a torque screw and a pivot collar, and you notice here it says no bearings. A nice touch, because Tim is known for using washers on his customs, and his washer action is extremely fast. You can see how fast that is, and it's quite smooth to close. Yeah, let's talk about the action. In his newer customs, he does use a steel lock bar insert, which is very nice. You can see how how smooth that is. It doesn't drop by its own weight because it is a smaller blade. This one is a 3-inch blade, I believe. But yeah, when you drop that lock bar, it just drops. So this tension is from the lock bar holding in the blade, but it's extremely smooth. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It feels like bearings on how smooth it is. And there's absolutely no side-to-side play. You can release the lock bar and try to move it. Extremely solid, rigid, very strong. Awesome work. Check out the centering. Perfect, of course. Now let's talk about these rivets, because this is another very, very cool detail that Tim puts on his knives. If you noticed in his earlier custom work, he used manual machines, so he doesn't have any of these rivets. But on his bomber style knives, which this is one of them, he puts, I guess, little dimples instead into the frame, and that's how he usually makes them. But for these rivets, which are raised, if you can see, you can feel the texture because it's raised pretty, it's pretty protruding out there. Like you can feel it. It's quite substantial, and it feels very good in the hand. It makes the knife nice and grippy. But the way he makes this is actually all the same piece of the titanium frame, if you can believe that. So this titanium frame was actually this much taller, and he goes in with a CNC machine. I believe he said it was about 350,000 lines of code, and he had to put in each and every single one of these divots to make it perfectly, a perfect circle. And just even check this one out at the edge. It's just incredible. He, like, the milling, I guess the end mill is very small, and it had to be able to make these round shapes everywhere, and he had to sit there making the knives. And this guy is so patient when he makes knives. It's like crazy. I don't know how long this took him, but I almost thought it couldn't make it to the show, even though he started way earlier. He spent so much time making each of these things, little, I don't want to call it like divots, but these little, yeah, I guess I'll just call them divots for now, but they're so cool. Extremely nice. On both sides, and on the pocket clip, and on the backspacer. I don't know what to tell you, but can't imagine how long it took. If you go to his Instagram to check it out, and you see, the actual process of when he's building, there's actually a ton of mill lines which go across, even when the divots already put in. So he had to code it multiple times to make it machine each ball out and then get rid of those machine lines from all of it, because the rest of it is now extremely smooth. So yeah, that's just incredible. He also put in his, I believe this is laser engraving. The Bomber series is inspired by, I believe it's World War II events, and this is essentially the Allies, or the U.S. and their bombs. Nice tidbit there of history. And oh yeah, I almost forgot to mention about the action. The way he tuned it has to be so nice on the D10 that even a flipper tab like this which normally this design is is frankly it's not very good because you have very little leverage between when you let go of the blade or of the flipper tab. The angle is extremely shallow. You know, it's like a very small angle. Normally, if you look at my design with Seth on avian knives, the flipper tab's way up front, and even before you flip it, it's almost like 90 degrees. It comes out to, which makes it a lot easier to flip. You don't have to put much effort, and it's much easier to tune as well. To be honest, because you don't need to put a lot of pressure on the lock bar because the geometry is already good. Here, the geometry is actually not good, but he was able to tune it such that even on a washer build, it's still very nice and snappy. And in the beginning, you needed to put quite a bit of pressure to flip the knife, but now that it's broken in, it's very nice. It works very well. It's got some jimping here, which are very light jimping. You kind of just light switch it out, and it pops out nicely. And listen to the detent. Whoops. That's a nice, solid detent. Yep. I guess it's also the sound of these pins hitting the frame. But very, very lovely sound. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. This is a wonderful, wonderful piece. I know Tim himself is currently right now, he came back to start making knives again, but recently he's had some health issues, so he stopped. He's on a little bit of a break to heal himself. So I hope he can, get well very soon so he can come back and make these amazing, incredible pieces, because, the knife world needs inspiration like this. Someone who puts in the time, work to make knives perfect. Oh, look at the lock bar insert. I forgot to show you, but look at that touch inside with the little milling holes. I know he did this for one of his production knife designs where it was on here. And it was a little bit controversial because people were afraid that the blade is going to break, although I've never heard of anyone actually breaking it, even when you hammer it with a log or something like that to cut wood. But now that touch is in here instead, which is lovely. It's a nice over travel stop, so you can't overextend the lock bar. And yeah, beautiful knife, beautiful blade, beautiful grind. I love this grind. Very sexy grind. Lovely plunge. Alright. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you next time. Thanks.